Welcome to the Right Place podcast, where we learn with you how to navigate the world by building connections that matter, relationships that last, and businesses that thrive. My name is John Watson, and today I'm joined by my friend and neighbor and fellow CA, Christine Du Toit. Christine, thank you so much for your time today.
It's a great pleasure, and thanks for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Now, Christine, you're not just a CA, you're also a mother, you're a friend, you're a big supporter of the Clara Business Network, and you're going to be one of the speakers at an upcoming CBN event later in May. Christine, where did it all start for you? Did you always want to be a CA? Give us a little bit of background on your life journey.
CA was actually not on my radar when I was a small child. I actually wanted to be a spy. So I was thinking about it, being a spy, and how does it fit in being a CA and an auditor up to now. And the conclusion that I made is a spy normally goes undetected. People don't know that a spy is there, and you normally detect stuff that you then bring forward. And you're also not scared to go into difficult situations. So if I think of my current role as an auditor, it is basically like a spy. You do try and go undetected, go and try and figure out what happened in the finances, then bring it to light. Sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't. So I think I did marry the two of being a spy by becoming an auditor.
I love that answer. I think, being a spy, you're spying on people's finances, you're seeing what they've gotten up to during the year, you're seeing where the money went, you're seeing who was fired, who was hired, who got a bonus they didn't actually deserve, all of that type of stuff. I think you found your right place.
And you need to have courage to do it. Yeah, so it takes a lot of courage as well.
Now, Christine, you were at University of Stellenbosch, did your BCom, you then went on to CA. How did you find the studying process and making connections at varsity and setting yourself up for a career as a CA?
Yes, so I grew up in a very small town, a fishing village up the west coast called Saldanha. I went to school in Vredenburg. And at school, because it was a relative small school, we were about 650 kids, everyone knew each other. So you knew everyone at school, you knew their parents, you knew where they stayed. So I think at that stage already, it started that it's all about a community and it's all about a network and all working together. So when I went to varsity, it was a big adjustment because there was only about 3 of people in my class that ended up going to varsity. So it was a bit lonely, and I had to build these connections and networking and relationships again. Luckily at Stellenbosch, being in a residence there, it was easy because you were forced to actually build relationships with people. I was lucky enough to have a medical student in my room with me. So that meant that I also got to know the medical students, and not just in the finance sector, which was good. Yes, and I must say those friendships that I built there, I still have contact with them. And even the people that was together with me in the BAc accounting degree and the honors class, I still to this day have contact with. Some of them like on a weekly basis, which is actually quite nice. And I think what happens is because you together going through a very tough period, because it's tough doing the degree, I always said, doing my honors, I don't wish it on my worst enemy because it was really, really tough. A lot of studying time and not socializing a lot. So you end up socializing and spending time with people in lectures, in your class, and just outside class waiting. And it's all about networking, helping each other, getting through the course, sharing notes. And that helped a lot. And I think that built the networking, that it becomes part of your DNA.
I think, especially in the CA course, you need a lot of help to get through. If you're just going to try and wing it by yourself, I think you're going to struggle. So you need to make friends with people who can get past papers or can give you good advice on a certain subject or have access to the lecturers. I think it has to start there in varsity. You realize you need other people, you need good connections. And who knows where those conversations can lead? And obviously, I think if I think back to my varsity days, maybe not in first or second year, but in third year and honors year, you really start thinking, where am I going to be in my first year of articles? What am I going to do? And you start figuring out which of your friends are going to which firm. Are they even going overseas? Are they transitioning into a totally different sphere of the CA world? So you need to start kind of finding your place or finding your direction.
No, that's very true. That's very true. So, funny fact, my roommate in my final year when we shared an apartment in Stellenbosch actually also lives in Clara.
Excellent. So, Christine, you finish up at varsity, you end up starting at KPMG, you move on to BDO. Tell me about those early years as finding your feet as a young CA and moving up the ranks.
So I started at KPMG. In that year, I was the only Afrikaans-speaking trainee that started at KPMG. So those early months were very lonely months, transitioning into English. I think it went quite well. And then also what was very important in those early days was building relationship with the people around you. So what we did at KPMG, there was always on a Wednesday evening, we went and played volleyball. And I made sure that I actually went with and I played volleyball with people. So networking and fitting in is very much on you. You need to take the first steps. People will invite you, but you need to take on the invite and actually go. Yes, so in those early years, I stayed on at KPMG, left for a short while to start a practice, and then were called back to KPMG to actually run the small businesses department. And if I think back now, there was two people that was really, or three people that was instrumental in my career going forward. The one was the manager that I worked under, June Williams. She ended up being at the Auditor General a few years later. And I still have contact with her. So in March this year, I actually went to the old age home where she stays because she invited me to come over and have some coffee and a piece of carrot cake and just chat to her. And I think what is important with your networks is it's long lasting relationships. You don't just stop those relationships, you keep on building. And even now that she's retired in the old age home, I go there, we talk about it, we laugh about those days, find out where are some of the other people. And then two other people that were very instrumental was Mike Blomkamp, was the managing partner of the office, and really took me under his wing and built me up to the person that I am today and give me a love for auditing. And then also Franco Vignatia. So I did do a master's in tax later on after my articles. And that was due to Franco. He was running the tax division for KPMG at that stage. And he said to me, Michael, you need to know about tax. Clients are always going to ask you about tax. You need to say tax. Until this day, I still have contact with him. Last year in June, he was in Italy at that stage. So I went and I visited him in Italy. He stays in Cape Town. I see him quite regularly on a regular basis as well. So I think what is important for people is to remember those relationships that you build early on in your career. You must cherish them and keep contact with them. And from your side, tell them where you are, what you're doing, and find out how things are going with them, especially when the people age. And I can see being now in their 80s and in their 70s, it's good for them actually when you contact them and you want to know how it's going with them. And that is what networking is about, building those strong relationships.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, Christine. And those relationships can see you through all the ups and downs, especially in your career as a CA, and they can open up doors of opportunity later on in life. You just never know. Keep hold of those relationships. And if you stay in touch, I mean, I was actually commenting on LinkedIn this morning about just the habit of staying in touch with people can bear fruit many, many years down the line. And you just don't know what doors are just going to open up for you just because you've maintained that relationship. And it doesn't mean you have to phone them or WhatsApp them every day. It's just on a regular basis. Whenever you think of someone, send them a message, send them an email, like their post on LinkedIn or something like that. And all of that builds your friendship capital with the person, that if you do need to tap on their shoulder and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or do you know someone that can do this for me? Then that door is open for you.
Yeah, so you probably wonder now, how did I transition from KPMG to CAP, BDO, and then CAP again? Basically, when I was in the partnership program at KPMG, it was the time that there was a big push for transformation. Everything, there was a freeze at the partner admissions. And being very entrepreneurial, I said, well, I need to go. But once again, my mother learned me a very good lesson in life, and that is that you never burn your bridges. So when I decided that I had to go out and start a practice, I was honest with KPMG. I told them what I wanted to do, and they said, well, you can't leave us. You're running this whole department. What's going to happen? And I actually gave them 3 plans. So I worked through and I put 3 plans to them, and I said, choose one and I'll implement it. They choose the plan, one of the 3 plans. I implemented it, and 6 weeks after implementation, everything was in place. So it's quite funny. I left like on the 8th of July, which is not like a normal calendar month that you give notice, but that was the day that everything was implemented. And I said to them, it's now implemented. Can I please be released to start my own practice? And that is how I left. And it was funny. In those years afterwards, I still have contact with them. My daughter Dominique, she's thinking about CA. She's going to go and do job shadow with them in July. I still have contact with them. They still send clients my way. And that is where it comes from, not burning your bridges. So keeping those contacts. And when you leave, and I think for people when they resign from an employer, never say, I'm never coming back to you. You don't know how the road will be up ahead. So make sure that you leave on good terms when you leave, because in 5 or 10 years' time, you might be back at that workplace. Okay? So that is how I left and started my practice. And then we went through a transition period where we grew quite a lot. We were approached by BDO and we merged with BDO, which was way back in 2014. We were part of the BDO family for about 22 months, and then we parachuted out of the merger. And the main reason for that was we were a small boutique audit firm. Our clients, the way that we handle our clients, the way that we handle our staff was very different to in a corporate environment. And we longed for that to bring back. So that's why we parachuted out of the merger. What was quite funny, most of our clients, 95% of them, send us emails to say, yippee, we're so happy that you're back to where you were. And that is that relationship that you need. There's definitely a space for your bigger audit firms, your corporate environment, but there is a certain portion of the market where it's more family businesses that they want that family relationship. And also the staff, not high turnover of staff, that the staff stays the same. They know who to call. Yeah, and that's why we basically then ended up being happy.
And I think you make a good point there about people like to do business with people that they know and trust and they've built a relationship with. If you just come in cold as a new audit firm, you have to start from scratch. And everything that you've built up over the years, you have to re-explain and over-explain, and they have to take some time to figure it out. And especially when you've taken extra care, you've gone that extra mile for your clients and your customers, and you almost become a part of their success because of the advice that you're giving them. You're giving them good feedback on their financial statements or on their products or on their processes. They value that. They want that. And as soon as that's gone, they miss that. And then someone new comes in and says, but you're just not the same as Christine, or you're not the same as Cap. And that's why people follow people. They want what they've gotten used to, and they find that comfort in that relationship. So keep it the same. Let's carry on with Christine or Cap or whoever the company is. And we can make a success out of it. And audit's really very stressful. But if I'm doing it going through the process with a trusted partner, it's a lot less stressful.
That's very true. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned someone's name earlier, June Williams. Now, small world. I was also at Auditor General South Africa for many years, and June was here in the Cape Town office. And June and I actually served on the South African Medical Research Council Audit Committee together. So I got to know June a little bit on that audit committee, and it was wonderful to learn from her and see her. She had a very keen eye on financial statements and asked unbelievably good questions in the audit committee. So it was wonderful to interact with her and just to see her still be able to apply her knowledge that she'd built up over the years. There's nothing wiser than an old CA. They see a crook a mile away, or they see a dodgy line in financial statements a mile away. It's just like they kind of got a sixth sense about it. And I think June was one of these people that could take a huge document and she would pick out one paragraph and say, this doesn't make sense, or this is wrong, or this is not compliant, or something like that. So, no, it was wonderful to serve with her there.
So maybe we must go together and have some cake and coffee with her.
No, that'll be very interesting. No, I really, really enjoyed her. She's a wonderful person, wonderful to talk to. Always got something interesting to say, and like I said, she's vastly experienced. She should probably write a book about her days at the AG as well.
Yes.
Now, Christine, you ended up then at CAP. Tell me about those early days, finding your feet, making sure the clients are happy, getting staff in. How did that all work together?
Yeah, so I think in those early days, starting with a business, and I was fortunate enough when I joined with CAP in 2005. At that stage, Gustav Feyer and Skalk Reineke already formed CAP. They actually approached me a year earlier. And at that stage, I was pregnant with Dominic. So I said, no, let's put a hold on everything. And after the pregnancy, everything was fine. So they reapproached me, and we basically merged my practice with their practice. So in those early days, what is important is you need to get the DNA of the firm. So what does the firm stand for? What are the values? And then it's important when you've got partners that you actually communicate that and share that DNA. So what was important to us at that stage was definitely family life. And also for the people that we employ, their family life. So we already in a very early stage of the firm started, like with flexi time, understanding where we've got single mothers, which we had in the firm, that sometimes they need to bring their child to work because if they are sick, they need to work, but there's no one at home to look after them. So those were changes that we made from the corporate environment to actually adjust and to make sure from a staffing point of view, you're actually attracting staff that it will be difficult for them in a corporate environment, but they do have the skills. So that is from a staffing point of view. And then from a personal point of view, what is very important when you're starting with a practice and when you are in business is I always ask, especially to the women, what is your infrastructure around you? Who do you have supporting you? Who's picking up your child? Who's looking after your child when they are sick? Who's cooking at home? Who's doing the shopping? And they, especially for women, we try and do everything ourselves, because if you don't do it all, you're failing as a mother and you're failing as a wife and as a partner, and that's not true. I always say you can't pour from an empty cup, and at a point you're going to get empty. So in those early years, my mother was integral. I actually appointed her as my au pair, and I paid her. She was on my payroll. I monthly paid her. Because then, one, I didn't feel guilty about it. And she felt, but she's being employed, and she can say to people, I'm the au pair, I'm looking after a child. And she said, it's super. She's looking after a grandchild and she's getting paid for it. So rather do that than get another au pair that, is not family, So it's making sure like that, making sure you've got someone at home that can cook for you, or pick up cooked meals. But it's to get that infrastructure around you and to make sure that you can fully operate during the day.
That's fascinating. I like what you said there about the DNA. I think it's so important that you put your stamp of authority on in terms of what the business stands for, what culture you want to implement, and that you want to be inclusive and take cognizant of the fact of people's circumstances. And that women can have these careers. They've got these aspirations, but oftentimes they're hindered by their responsibilities as a wife or a mother. But if you put that front and center and say, we want you to be a mom, we want you to be a wife, we want you to have the full family experience, but we also want your skills and we value what you have to offer. I think that's a wonderful testament then to what you can build. And that makes you an attractive organization to work for. And then you can extract the best out of your staff because they're comfortable in an environment that cares for them. The environment isn't working against them, it's working for them. And I think that's also attractive for clients. I mean, if I hear that this is how my firm is running, I want to be part of that firm because I'm contributing to a successful organization that's looking after their people.
And even today, we do have single mothers in our office. And I always say, if your child is playing a hockey game or a rugby game, I want you to be there. I'm
Mm.
not going to ask you, but why were you not at the office this afternoon? You say you've got a personal appointment, or even some of them are honest and they say, I'm going to the hockey match this afternoon. You say, great, go. Tomorrow we will ask, how did it go at the hockey? Because everyone knows what they need to do. So it
Mm.
will mean that they maybe over the weekend will put in some hours or in the evening or early in the morning, but they've got their own portfolio of clients that they need to look after. So we always say the pressure comes from the clients. The pressure don't come from the office or your superiors. It comes from the clients that needs deliverables. And for me, looking back now, it gave me the opportunity that I could actually pick Dominic up at school when she was in like primary school and in high school. And I asked her last year because there was a big sacrifice that I made, stopping work, going, picking her up at school, driving home, having lunch with her, and then starting to work again while she's doing homework. And I said to her, a lot of kids have got au pairs doing that. What would you have chosen now that you're out of school? Would you have chosen me picking you up or an au pair picking you up? Because if an au pair did it, you do realize mom could have worked longer hours, it would have been more profitable, so the finances would look definitely different. So there is a sacrifice in that. And she said to me, Mom, I would not have it different. I would like you to pick me up at school, take me home. She says, when you pick me up at school, at that point, I want to tell you what went wrong in my day and what went well in my day. If it was an au pair and you only came home at 5 or 6 o'clock, I've lost that conversation with you, that building relationship with her. So I want to definitely tell mothers out there, don't feel guilty if you're taking those hour or 2 hours to actually pick up your child from school. Have that conversation, have that lunch with them, find out how their day was. And if you're putting in that extra hour in the morning or in the evening to make up for that, you're building into your child, which no one else can do but you as the mother. So I think that is very important. And with my partner at CAP, fellow director Elaine, who's got 2 small children now, I said to her in the beginning of the year, you need to pick Mateo up at school. He's now 4 years old, so they understand. When they're smaller, they don't understand. And then as a mother, you can still work longer hours. But as soon as they start going to school and understanding, I said to her, you go and you pick me up. So in her diary, it's got blocked out that she's picking Mateo up from school. So he's in play school, but she goes and fetches him. And that is important, that you actually also in business keep one another accountable to make sure that you don't put everything just into work, but you also build on your family.
No, absolutely. And that time with family, you can't get back. You can always find more hours to work. You can always work more overtime. You can pick up the pieces if things fall apart with the client. Juggling the important balls in life, that family one is the one that you have to hold on to the tightest. And your kids will remember that you picked them up and that you were there when they hurt their knee or they didn't do well in their test or you were taking them from school to the match. They will remember all of that. And that adds color to your life as well, that you take this break from the madness of the office, spend time with people that love you the most and that you love the most. And that just gives you that perspective, because oftentimes you need that break from the office. It's good for your soul. Like things are going mad. It's just emails on top of emails. You want to get out. I go and see my kids. I spend half an hour with them. And that just resets my whole perspective on life and why I'm doing this and why I studied CA and all of that.
I love Italy quite a lot and I go there a lot. And the Italians have got the way of living they've implemented, I think ensures that they live longer. And they've got the siesta. Visiting Milan, I had to try and open up a bank account with Dominique. And I could not believe that even in a city as Milan, the bank closes for siesta. So it will close at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, and it will only open up again at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. It's closed. And I'm just thinking to myself, in South Africa, can you think if a business says it closes for siesta every day? People are going to say they never worked there. But it comes back to that, taking that break during the day. And I've actually, being on the coast of Italy, I saw this dad, the wife and the kids were on the beach. He arrived on his little Vespa and there were a place where you could go and change. So he changed out of his suit into his swimming clothes. He was on the beach with them swimming. When it was close to office time again, like 2 o'clock, he went back into the little cubicle, showered, got back into his suit, onto his Vespa, and he's off to work again. And I just thought to myself, that is the ultimate way of living.
I love that story. I could do that every day. I wouldn't mind riding a Vespa around, taking a swim break, and just enjoying life. I mean, life is too short not to enjoy it. As South Africans, we tend to work absolutely flat out from, let's say, 15 Jan until 16 December. And then we want to pile in all of our holiday time and relaxing time in those 3 or 4 weeks that we take off. But then we miss all these opportunities during the year, and your kids don't see you, and you don't build that relationship with them, and you try and cram it into December holidays in Hartenbos, wherever you end up going. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's that you need that daily refreshment, that daily nourishment of interacting with your kids and your family, and having that proper family time. And it does wonders. It works both ways. It's going to enrich and help your business life, I think. And it's going to help your relationship with the people that need you the most.
So we could have built in a siesta. So what I said this year to my staff is we're going to implement the 111 concept. Okay, so the 111 is that you take off 1 hour in the day. So it means 1 hour in the day, no cell phone, no social media, nothing. You take off, no work. So it's either cooking, spending time with your family, going for a yoga class, whatever it is. Going for a walk, Clara's beautiful, going for a walk, 1 hour a day. You need to take off 1 day a week, which also links in with the Sabbath principles that we need to take off 1 day a week. So 1 day a week, no internet, no phone. You spend your time with family and friends, reading a book, taking the time off. Then the next one is 1 weekend a month. So that means from a Friday afternoon, when you shut down your computer, until a Monday morning at 8 o'clock, no work. You spend time with your family, you relax, friendships, things like that. So that's 1 weekend a month. And then they say you need to take off 1 full week every quarter. And if you can't do that, 2 weeks every 6 months. And scientifically, they've proven that if you don't do this, you actually will need 40 days leave at the end of the year to not hit burnout. So it's and I've said to my staff, they need to implement that, and I keep them accountable. I will ask them, when in this next week is your day off? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? To make sure that they take the time off, and also the weekends. I keep on asking them, which weekend this month are you taking off? So that we know when we plan the audits, we don't put you on a deadline audit on the weekend that you take off. And if you do that, you will also not get sick. So if we look at sick leave that people take, it's also because they're not resting. They're not getting that rest in. And that rest must be built in during the year, not just, as you said, John, from 16 December until 15 November.
I love this concept. I think oftentimes we only take a break once we've burnt out. We miss all the warning signs. But I think if you build it into your habits, taking 1 hour a day, 1 day a week, that is then you're keeping the recharge, you're keeping your batteries recharged. If you're going to wait until December, crash and burn, you're going to need those 40 days. It's not sustainable. It's honestly not sustainable. But doing it on a regular basis, and I mean, there's lots of accounts and articles written about this, about how some of the past masters used to do it. Other people in literature or artists, they would work 2 or 3 hours a day, and then they would disappear the rest of the day. They would take long walks, they would read books, they'd read poetry, they'd take a siesta. And this added to their genius and how they operated during the day, so that when they were working, they were so energized and focused that they nailed their work. But if we are just working frantically, and I think this is a common issue in South Africa, South Africans tend to work as if we're going to finish all the work today. And then tomorrow we work another 18 hours, and the next day work another 18 hours. What are we doing? We're just on this absolute treadmill where we've created an expectation that we can do everything. And we burn out and we crash, and it affects our family, it affects our relationships with our spouses, and it's not sustainable. So why do we start that? So I think if you schedule your recharge time, it can only benefit you in the long run.
But that's also where a network comes in, and a network of friends and business colleagues that can actually say to you, listen, John, I see you running at this pace. When are you taking off? When is your weekend away? You know, don't you need a bit of a break? You know, because it's sometimes someone that just ring the bell and say, whoa, we can see you tired. And that's where the networking comes in. And the networking actually becomes a close circle of friends and business friends that can say to you, John, we value you as a person, but we see that you are running, too fast. You need to take a break.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you need that network of friends. And if you've invested in your network and you've got good relationships, then you can take that honest advice and not just see it as criticism. Because I know in South Africa, we tend to be very proud about how hard we work. You ask someone how they're doing and they say busy. No, what does that even mean? You should rather say, I'm refreshed, I'm recharged, I'm energized, I'm productive, but I'm enjoying life in South Africa. We've got the best weather in the world, we've got the best country, the most beautiful country. But people have this claim to fame about how busy they are. Rather, have people around you that can tell you honestly, John, you need to take a break. Stop what you're doing. It's not adding value now. Go and play golf, go for a walk, climb Table Mountain, do something like that. Go for a surf or a swim. And that can do wonders for you if you have that circle around you of people that can talk into your life and add value that you need to know and you need to take seriously. Now, Christine, I think earlier this year or late last year, you told me about your next move, that you were going to be moving slightly away from the normal CA firm role that you've had for many years, and more into your own direction and your own passion. And you started a company called Lux Audere. I hope I've said it right. And please tell us what it's all about and what is this new journey that you're on.
So I was sitting last year in January. I just turned 50. I went for a walk here in Clara Business, and I said to my husband, Peter, I know I need to move into a new phase. I've been doing auditing my whole life, and I know there's a new season that's starting, but I don't know what it is. And after the walk, I said to him, I love spending time with my clients. A lot of my clients have become my friends. They don't do anything without giving me a call. I said to him, it sounds to me like a business coach. And he said, but he thinks I will be very good as a business coach. And I said, but you can't wake up just one morning and say, I'm a business coach now. So I did a little bit of research and I found the International Business Coaching Consulting course through an American Institute, which I then did last year. I completed it in August, which was on the day that I got on the plane to fly to Spain and go and walk the Camino, which was the present to myself for turning 50. So I walked the Camino, and I think it was a good time for me just for 14 days. No internet, no contact with the office, just clearing my head. And it was clear for me after that what I've learned in all these years up to now as an auditor is not wasted. It's actually built the foundation for what I need to do now going forward. And my focus in Lux Audere is going to be on preserving family businesses. So if we look at the name Lux Audere, and you might ask why, what does this name mean? So Lux means, the meaning is light, and Audere is salt. So with preserving your family business, I want to be the light in darkness, because it's dark. You don't know how the future looks. How am I going to preserve this? And to preserve something, if we look at meat or any other food, you need to add salt to it, preserve it. So Lux Audere, the focus is going to be on preserving the family businesses going.
That's very interesting, Christine. And I think you're going to be really good at it. I think, like you said, you're not wasting your experience. All the audits you've been through, all the hours and hours spent with the clients, you've built up a treasure trove of knowledge and insight, and you know what works and what doesn't work. And now you can start imparting that knowledge, especially onto clients that have these family businesses that want to preserve their legacy or want to hand it over to the next generation.
So if I look at my own business, it's not that I'm walking away from CAP and from the audit business. I've got to implement what I'm saying in my own business. So I've got Elaine, who's already as a director and a shareholder, and there are more people lined up. And I need to invest in them to actually get them there, and invest in more people to take over from them. so that CAP can carry on. And I will still be there, and I'm still available for technical advice. I'm still available to service a portfolio of clients that's got the relationships with me. But transitioning now into the new phase, which is looking at the family businesses. And I think where a lot of the family businesses go wrong or don't think about it is tonight the founder can pass away. And then the question is, who's taking over? Most people have got all their planning, estate planning is in place. They know what the value of the business is. But my question is, who's stepping into the shoes of the founder? A lot of people will say, yeah, but we've got a buy and sell agreement in place, Is all the paperwork correct? Will the business survive? Will the client stay with the business? What is that succession plan going forward? And that's where I think with, as you said, John, with the years of auditing experience, having seen a lot of businesses that have thrived, having seen a lot of businesses that went through very difficult situations, difficult times, I do have the knowledge, and I always say a spirit of discernment to actually see, what can possibly go wrong. Here's something we need to have a look at. Have you got a plan B in place? Let's sit together and work on a plan B. And it's far better to do it with a founder or an owner while they are still here, and to get that in place where the family is now left without that person. They are grieving, but there's a business and families that are supported by the business that needs to carry on. So I can see myself moving into that role in assisting while the founder and the owners are still here.
I think that's a wonderful move that you've made, Christine. And I think the knowledge that and the skills that you can impart, I think is much needed. I think a lot of times family businesses, they just assume one of the siblings will pick up the pieces and things will be okay. But the problem is these siblings go in their own direction. They go and start their own business or work for their own company. And now to call them out of a career that they've invested in to come and pick up the pieces is a bad assumption to make. And also it places a lot of pressure on the family unit. And I can just imagine some of the fights that can happen and some of the splits that can happen because now the family business has fallen apart. No one wants to pick up the pieces. Nothing was in place. The mother or the father is grieving. The family is grieving. It can be very, very messy. So I think if you just start talking with the founders and say, look, let's put something in place. Let's be mature about the situation. Because also it can sometimes be an uncomfortable situation. It's the same as having a discussion with your parents about their will or what are their wishes when they pass away. But I mean, rather have that discussion than not. Rather know where you stand, what's in place, what isn't in place, that if the worst case scenario does happen, that you do have a little bit of direction. You don't necessarily have to have everything figured out, but just have a direction. What would happen if this person passes away or this business needs someone to pick up the pieces? How's it actually going to work? So I think there's definitely a lot of value that you can add. And I really believe that this is the value that you're going to bring at the next Clara Business Network meeting as well.
Oh, no, definitely. So at the next Clara Business meeting, we are going to unpack it, to have a look. How does it look? There's coaching that needs to happen with the founder because sometimes they don't want to hand over and they don't want to put the plan in place. So it's that coaching that needs to happen. It's coaching that needs to happen with maybe the son or the daughter that now actually is honest with me as the business coach saying, but I don't want to farm. I'm not a farmer. I don't want to come back to the farm. And then conveying that message to the owner to say, well, your daughter or your son don't want to return to the farm. We've got to look at something else and to actually coach the founder through that process then, or the owner, and also the siblings through the process. So we're going to unpack all of that at the next CBN. And we also are going to have a look at what is the paperwork that you need to have in place. How does this plan look that you need to put together and get people thinking? If you walk out of the Clara Network evening and there's maybe a big meteorite that falls on all of us, Who's carrying on with our businesses? What has happened? And to make sure that all of us have got a plan in place. And it's our responsibility because we've got families that we're looking after, not just our own families, but also the families that we employ. And I'm going to challenge the people to write down that name at the Clara business meeting of who's the person that's stepping into your shoes tomorrow morning. And if you can't do that, then you're lacking a plan and you need to get that. I'm looking forward to our next meeting together.
No, excellent. And we're also partnering with Carrick Wealth here, with Sean and with Louis Fenter. Tell me about that angle that they're going to bring.
Yes, so Louis' angle is they've trademarked the liquidation distribution calculation. So what they do is very, very good because they actually calculate what is going to be the financial implications if you pass away tonight. So what is the financial needs of the family to actually pay all the taxes that is due, capital gains tax, estate duty, all of that needs to happen, and what is the immediate cash flow need of the family. So they are looking at that point up to there, which is very important. And then I'm taking over and saying, well, once we know this, we need this business to survive. How's that looking? If you've got a buy and sell agreement, is everything in place? Is what being paid out enough to the family? But how's the business now going to carry on? Because you've now paid the family, but suddenly the owner is not there. So if I take in my own business, I'm also doing billable work that's being charged to the client. If I pass away tonight, what is happening at the office? Yes, there's a buy and sell agreement. My family will be fine. That will be paid out. But Elaine is sitting with a problem. Someone needs to step into my shoes. So I need to make sure that I've got an agreement with someone that will step into my shoes for a period of time to actually do the work that I was busy with until she finds a new partner. Where's she going to find a new partner? How's that looking? So it's unpacking that. So from Louis' side, he's doing the very important cash flow calculations, which will be the immediate cash flow that needs to go out, and that is required, and is all of that in place, and is the will in place to actually give the authority for what needs to happen. And then I'm taking this.
Excellent, Christine. That sounds wonderful. I think it's going to be definitely a worthwhile CBN to attend to. And even if you don't have a family business, even if you're just a one-man show at the moment, you need certain things in place. Otherwise, everything just goes to the government or it falls apart. And people will be left wondering, if only you had something in place, this could have carried on. It was a great business. Someone else could have taken it over or merged or bought it out. So I really think there's going to be lots of value to add there. Christine, we're going to end off now. But before we do, and I think I know what your answer is going to be. But Christine, here where we sit in 2024, do you feel that you're in your right place?
Yes, I definitely feel that I'm in my right place. I am in a transition phase, which is always stretching one a little bit. But I think it's good. As we move through the phases of our lives and being into my 50s, I do believe it's a new phase that we're going in. I do believe that at this age, I've got a lot to give, and I'm now at the age that I need to start giving back. In your first 50 years, you're like a sponge and you're taking up quite a lot, but I believe I'm in the right place now to start giving back.
Wonderful, Christine. Well, it's been amazing talking to you today. I've learned a lot. I thought I knew you well, but every time we talk, I learn something a little bit more. I definitely want to implement my own personal siesta every single day. I think it's going to do well. And really looking forward to your presentation, Carrick Wealth and Louis Fenter at the next CBN. Thank you to everyone that's watching and listening to our podcast as well. We hope you found value in this episode today. Thank you so much, Christine. Wish you all the best, not just at CAP, but at Lux Audere as well. And yes, we'll see you next time at the right place.
Thank you very much, John. And thank you for everything that you're investing into the Clara Business Network.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, Christine. Cheers.